What's up guys, today I'm gonna see if I can beat Pokemon Fire Red with Ash's team from the anime. I did do a similar video on Ash's Hoenn team, if you guys want to check that out after this video, so let's get into it. We talked to Professor Oak and we set up our name as Ash, because who else are we gonna really be? And of course, our rival has to be Gary. There's just no other name fitting this playthrough. I try to escape Pilot Town, but Professor Oak brings me back to his lab, where now I have to pick a starter. Ash had all 3 Kanto starters in the anime, but I'm only limited to 1. I'm not gonna be picking Bulbasaur, and I won't be picking Squirtle because Ash had multiple water types, so we're gonna be going with the iconic Charmander. After picking our starter Pokemon, we have a fight with Gary. He chooses his starter Squirtle, and the game does some annoying tutorial for us. Long story short, we knock out Squirtle and get our first win. Then I grab Professor Oak's package for him. I guess Amazon hasn't reached Kanto yet. And he sets us up with the Pokedex. And more importantly, some Pokeballs as well, which we'll need to catch our actual starter Pokemon, Pikachu. This guy can be encountered pretty early in the game in the Viridian Forest, so I decide to catch Pikachu early on. Fun fact, this Pikachu is actually female, and I'm 99% sure Ash's Pikachu is male, but whatever, it gives us diversity on our team to fight off a track, so I'm happy with it. Afterwards, we do reach Pewter City to challenge Brock for our first gym badge. Now in the anime, Ash lost to Brock in their first encounter at this gym, and you wouldn't believe it, but so did I. I couldn't believe it that our playthrough had such a rough start. I challenged Brock for a second time and got crushed again. But this time we got just enough experience to evolve Charmander into Charmeleon. So I did a couple wild battles, and afterwards we reached level 16 with Charmander and got it to evolve into Charmeleon. I also learned I could actually paralyze Onix with Pikachu's Thunder Wave. They say 3rd time's the charm, and even though it only took Ash 2 tries, I'm hoping we don't catch an L for a 3rd time. We just keep spamming our Metal Claw. And this time Metal Claw actually gave us an attack boost, so I didn't want to switch out Charmeleon just yet. We did some decent damage on Onix, but our speed fell. Luckily he went for Tackle the 2nd time around and the 3rd time around as well, and we were able to beat the Onix and finally beat Brock and get our first gym badge. 1 down, 7 more to go. After beating Brock, we make it to Mount Moon and we get to pick our fossils. Now, I don't really know which fossil belongs to which Pokemon, but I go with the Hilly-X fossil because hey, Ash never used a fossil Pokemon anyways. After picking up our fossil Pokemon, we backtrack to Route 4, where I attempt to catch a Mankey. Now, I actually encountered a Mankey very quickly before, but I knocked it out because I didn't want to catch it this early on. But then I changed my mind. So yeah, I think I ran into every Pokemon possibly found on this route. But eventually, we did run into Mankey. And since Ash had one in the anime, we are able to catch it and make it a part of our team. I paralyzed Mankey with Thunder Wave and hit it with a quick attack. Then I throw my Pokeball at it and I'm able to catch it. Afterwards, we make it to Cerulean City. I immediately challenged Misty, thinking I would have the upper hand because I have Pikachu, but boy was I wrong. Her weakest Pokemon is level 18, and I can't even knock it out with my Pikachu. You see that it survived with 1 inch of its life, but Misty's Sarmy is something else. Cause I didn't learn my lesson the first time, I challenged Misty once again. This time, however, I start with Thunder Wave to paralyze Staryu, and I'm able to knock it out with Pikachu. But once again, her Starmie ruins my team. We run into our rival right outside the Golden Bridge, and are immediately challenged to a battle. Now Gary's team is crazy strong here, but I'm able to take out his Pidgeotto with Pikachu, his Rattata with my Charmeleon, his Squirtle with my Pikachu, and his Abra with my Charmeleon again, making pretty easy work of Gary, despite the fact he had 4 Pokemon while we only had 3. After proving ourselves and beating our rival, we got the Fame Checker. We ran into our rival once again on the SSN. This is the fight that he uses that Raticate that one time. He leads with Pidgeotto and we instantly use Thunder Shock and take out Pidgeotto in 2 turns. Then our Mankey goes on to take out his Raticate. But Gary's smart, he quickly switches out his Raticate for Kadabra, and we do the same with Charmeleon, using Ember to take out Kadabra. Or so we thought. Could you believe it survived my Ember and needed to be hit twice? He tries to send out Wartortle, but we Uno reverse him and send out our Pikachu. And this time Wartortle gets the better of Pikachu. It also surprisingly knocks out our Mankey, but it's too weak to do anything else and we knock it out with our Charmeleon. Ironically enough, Raticate's his last Pokemon and that's the one we never see again. We get the H-Jump for Cut from the captain and say bye to the SSN. And we go challenge Misty for a 3rd time. This time she doesn't stand a chance though. as we one-shot her Staryu and Starmie. Now Misty knows how it feels. After quashing Misty, we also learned Thunderbolt, which is Pikachu's signature move in the Pokemon anime. We also catch a Meowth to learn Cut, so we're able to cut down those small trees. After catching Meowth, we go through the rock tunnel, which in my opinion is too overly complicated, and make it to Lavender Town. We immediately start battling the fishermen south of Lavender Town, but run into a sleepy Pokemon, which leads us to go to Celadon City, where we challenge Erica, the grass-type gym leader. We only have to use one Pokemon in this entire gym, and that's our starter, Charmeleon. It recently just learned Flamethrower, and we're gonna be using that to sweep through this gym. Her Victory Bell and Tangela go down easy, and so does her Vileplume, and we get our third gym badge. Not only that, but Charmeleon gets to level 36, which means it's evolving time. Luckily for us, Ash fully evolved his Charmander into a Charizard, so we won't be stopping this evolution. Charizard also learns Wing Attack for us. Now this is technically the fourth gym badge. We go to the Pokemon Tower and run into our rival Gary again. This time we're too OP. We use Thunderbolt to knock out his Pidgeot in one hit. Our Mankey does lose to his Growlithe, but our Pikachu gets revenge. Charizard crushes his Execute, and his Wartortle barely survives our Thunderbolt, but we get him on our next turn. We also use Thunderbolt against Kadabra. It also barely survives, so we have to hit it again. After we beat Gary, he finishes up saying bye to his Raticate, and we can move on to get the Pokeflute. But first, we have to beat Team Rocket in the Celadon City Game Corner, aka the casino. After chasing off this grunt and beating a couple more, our Mankey finally evolves into Primate. And boom, we have two fully evolved Pokemon. We also teach Primate Rage because Ash's Primate was always angry. We also do battle with Giovanni. Believe it or not, but Giovanni's pretty easy. We knock almost all of his Pokemon out with just our Primate. His Kangaskhan barely survives and knocks out our Primate, unfortunately. But of course, our ace Pikachu gets the easy win. After getting the Silph Scope, we're able to battle this Marowak and knock it out. I got really sad during this because I remember that Cubone storyline from the anime. But anyways, we beat it and got the Pokeflute too. After playing the Pokeflute, we're able to do battle with and catch our next Pokemon, a sleepy and grumpy Snorlax. We use Thunder Wave to paralyze it and use Primate's fighting type moves to get its health down. We use Rage to get it to the red area, and boy are those headbutts really strong. We threw our first Pokeball, but it escapes, and our Primate has a Vital Spirit, keeping it from going to sleep, but not from getting knocked out. We threw another Pokeball at it, and this time it escapes again. So we throw a third Pokeball at it because our Charizard's asleep anyway, and it escaped. Great. We have a fourth Great Ball to throw at it, and it escapes for the fourth freaking time. Since Charizard's asleep, why not throw another one at it? And this time we actually catch it. Finally, after 5 freaking Pokeballs. We're gonna be leaving Snorlax at the daycare center for now as we head towards Fuchsia City. Once at Fuchsia City, we have to get a few important items. First is the Good Rod, which we can get from this fisherman. After the fishing guru hands us the Good Rod, we go to the Safari Zone and get Surf. I swear this is one of the hardest HMs you get in the game. I got timed out so many times. Afterwards, I catch a Pidgey to evolve into Ash's Pidgeotto. And after catching that Pidgey, we fished with the Good Rod to catch a Krabby too. I caught Krabby because Krabby is actually one of my favorite Ash's Pokemon ever. It just has a super cool vibe to him, and his Kingler is crazy. After catching our Krabby, we have to do some backtracking. We use a rare candy to evolve Pidgey into Pidgeotto quickly, since Ash technically never used the Pidgey. After getting our Pidgeotto, we talk to this fisherman and get the Super Rod, and replace Snorlax with Krabby at the daycare. Then we go and get the bike voucher from the fan club, and get ourselves an overpriced bike. I wonder why this guy gives out free vouchers if he's selling his bike for $1 million. Then we challenge Lieutenant Surge to a gym battle and easily knock out his first Pokemon. Snorlax also learns Body Slam. Our Pikachu knocks out his Pikachu in one shot, and now it's time to do the iconic Pikachu versus Raichu fight. In the anime, Ash's Pikachu actually loses to Raichu the first time around, but since I totally forgot to go to Lieutenant Surge's gym before Celadon, our team is super over leveled and we're able to do this battle super easy. After defeating Lieutenant Sarge, we get the ability to fly outside of battle. All that's left is to get the Fly HM outside of Celadon City. And now it's fishing time. Probably wondering what I'm fishing for. It's not a Sea King. It's not a Psyduck, even though that would have been cool. It's definitely not a Goldeen. It's not even a Dragteeny, but I'll catch it for its held item. We're looking for a Dragonair, and once we found one, we keep trying to throw Safari Balls at it. It escaped our first Pokeball, so we threw some bait. It started to eat, and we threw a second Safari Ball at it. I'm stressing because it's escaped for a second time, and now a third time. But it keeps eating, so we're gonna keep throwing the Safari Balls at it. And finally, we're successful. We get Ash's Dragonair as well. Now, technically Ash never used a Dragonair in the Kanto region, but he did have one in the anime, so I thought it would have been cool to have one. And now it's time to challenge Koga. We lead with our bulky boy Snorlax, mainly because we don't have a type advantage at this gym. We go for our first Body Slam, And that doesn't even one-shot a coughing. Then he uses a self-destruct, dealing super damage to my Snorlax, and sends out his Muck. We don't switch out Snorlax, however, because we believe in him. We hit Muck with the body slam, and he hits us with a sludge. Snorlax hangs on to deliver another body slam and paralyze Muck, but Koga goes for a hyper potion. And our headbutt misses. Our Snorlax lands one more body slam and gets defeated. And we very stupidly send out our Primate. After Karate Chop basically does nothing, we wise up and start using Mega Punch. But I think it's a bit too late, as half of Primate's HP is already down, and Koga freaking uses a second Hyper Potion. We start spamming Mega Punches, but Muck gets the better of Primate. Now we send out our Pikachu, our ace, and he's gone. We're practically left with one Pokemon in Charizard and finally knock out the Muck. He has one more coughing left, and we one-shot it with Flamethrower. Its final Pokemon is a Weezing. For some reason I thought he would use a Venomont, but after taking a Sludge attack, our second Flamethrower knocks out his Weezing. And we get our 5th badge. 5 down, 3 to go. Now that we have Surf, we can head towards the power plant. And technically Ash never had a Zapdos, so we're not going to catch this guy, but I want to see how my team does against the legendary Pokemon, especially my electric type Pikachu. And it's safe to say we got crushed. Not only our Pikachu, but our Snorlax and Charizard too. We head over to the Saladon Mansion to get some tea, so we can give it to some lazy guard. Doesn't let you pass because he's too thirsty. Our Pikachu learns Thunder, and we're challenged by Gary right in the middle of trying to get Team Rocket out of Saffron. He sends out Pidgeot and we send out Pikachu. And believe it or not, Pidgeot actually survives the Thunder. Like, I really thought Thunder would one-shot it. Even though it's paralyzed, Quick Attack still moves first before Pikachu. We knock it out with Thunderbolt. We send out Snorlax for his Growlithe and knock it out with a couple of headbutts. Charizard knocks out his Execute with one Flamethrower. And after dealing some decent damage against Blastoise with Thunderbolt, Pikachu finally takes the L. We send out our Snorlax and deal one Body Slam's worth of damage to knock out his starter Blastoise. His next mon is Alakazam, and we switch back into Charizard. And with a single Flamethrower, our Charizard knocks out his Alakazam, beating Gary yet again. Our next fight is with Giovanni. He sends out his Nidorino and we send our Pikachu. We knock it out pretty easily, but our Dragonair loses to his Nidoqueen. Charizard gets revenge though, and Snorlax takes out his Rhyhorn. And we one-shot his Kangaskhan. Having Primate in our party would have been good for this fight, but I just forgot to bring him. Next, we go to the game corner and buy a Shadow Ball TM to teach our Snorlax for the next gym. This is because Snorlax will be immune to Ghost type move at the Elite 4 while having a super effective move against them for Agatha. And it will help us right now with Sabrina. Now it's time for us to fight the 6th gym leader. Now in the anime, Ash actually got the badge for this gym by making Sabrina laugh. We on the other hand just knocked out all her Pokemon, including one-shotting her ace Alakazam. We only used Snorlax for this gym. Afterwards, we went to the Silph Coat Company to get our final team member, a Lapras. Our Lapras learns Ice Beam while we're trying to get the keys to the 7th gym badge. After finding the keys, we're finally able to challenge Blaine. And boy, did I underestimate this guy. We struggle against Growlithe and his Ponyta. Like, we beat them, but our Lapras and Dragonair are basically out. His Rapidash comes in and takes out both Lapras and Dragonair. And then Primate, Pikachu takes out his Rapidash. But all that's left is his Arcanine, and all we have is left is our Pidgeotto and Meowth. You guys can tell where this is going. After catching our first loss in a very long time, I decided to switch out Meowth and Pidgeotto and bring the party we intend to challenge the Pokemon League with. This time around, we take over his Growlithe with Relativity, and he keeps spamming Hyper Potions on his Ponyta, which is actually a good thing because he won't have any left for his Arcanine when it comes out later on. His Ponyta surprisingly takes out our Lapras and our Dragonair. It's time for our Snorlax to make an appearance. We take out Ponyta and Rapidash with Primate, and our Snorlax gets a critical hit with Shadow Ball on Arcanine, winning us the 7th gym badge. Afterwards, I get kidnapped by Bill and have to do this little side quest, and after I'm done finding a little girl, I'm able to go back to Kanto. We grab our Krabby from the daycare and challenge a trainer in Giovanni's gym to evolve our Krabby into Kingler, because Ash had one in the anime and Kingler's one of my favorite Pokemon. Now it's time for the final gym battle. In the anime, Ash didn't have to fight Giovanni, and he got his gym badge pretty easily against Jesse and James, but in the game, we have to fight Giovanni, so we bring our A game and take out his Rhyhorn. His Dugtrio surprisingly takes out our Dragonair, and we take out Dugtrio with our Lapras. At level 29, Kingler unleashes a Surf that one-shots a Rhyhorn that's level 50, and this is why Ash's Kingler is the GOAT. Kingler gets hit with Body Slam and somehow survives, and I decide it's time to switch it out. With Charizard's Flamethrower, we take out Nidoqueen, and unfortunately his Nidoking takes out our Lapras. Charizard delivers the final blow to Nidoking, winning us the 8th gym badge and getting itself to level 49. And with that, we're finally able to travel towards the Victory Road and challenge the Pokemon League. On our way to the Victory Road, however, we get challenged by our rival. His Pidgeot gets a critical hit quick attack on our Pikachu, and Pikachu's static paralyzes Pidgeot. We go for Thunder, which it barely survives, and then since it's paralyzed for its second turn, we go for Thunderbolt. He's sending out his Rhyhorn, so we try to switch, but I totally forgot to heal our team. So we're doing this battle 4v6. I send up my Primeape to deliver a heavy hitting cross chop to Rhyhorn, which takes 2 turns to knock it out, but we defeat it. He sends out his Alakazam, so we send out our Shadow Ball hitting Snorlax, which does decent damage to his Alakazam. It barely survives and disables our Shadow Ball, so we hit it with a Body Slam and knock it out. Because all our water types are knocked out, we have to use Charizard's Wing Attack against Growlithe, knocking it out in 2 turns. Pikachu uses Thunder and misses against Blastoise, then gets knocked out. Our Snorlax tries its best against Blastoise but also gets knocked out, and so does our Primeape. Charizard delivers a Wing Attack to defeat Blastoise, and luckily his last Pokemon is Execute, which we one-shot with Flamethrower. And somehow, someway, we beat our rival's top team with only 4 Pokemon. It was time for the Pokemon League. Our first battle is with Lorelei. Now, in my opinion, just because Lorelei is the first Elite Four doesn't mean she's the weakest. She actually is pretty strong. And our strategy against her is using our Primeape and setting up with Swagger, which will confuse her Pokemon and increase its attack. Then we go for our hard-hitting Cross Chop and hope to one-shot. We take out our Dugong this way, set up Swagger on her Slowbro, and switch out to Snorlax. This is because Snorlax can actually tank Surf and deal super effective damage with Shadow Ball, which almost knocks out the Slowbro. She's probably gonna go for a full restore, so we just gotta keep grinding the Shadow Balls. Lucky for us, we critical hit and knock out her Slowbro. Pikachu gets sent out to one-shot her Cloyster with Thunder, and Charizard's gonna one-shot her Jinx with Flamethrower. Primate's gonna set up Swagger on her Lapras, and we're gonna spam Cross Chop. Unfortunately, she uses Confuse Ray on us, and we switch out for Pikachu. But then she uses Confuse Ray on Pikachu, and we switch back in Primeape. We tank her Body Slam attack and get paralyzed, but Primeape hangs in there and uses Swagger. Then we launch our Cross Chop attack. But unfortunately, we're too slow when we get hit with Body Slam and get knocked out. Pikachu is our next guy up, and he hits her with a Thunder. Lapras hits Pikachu with a Body Slam and knocks it out, leaving us only with 4 Pokemon. Despite it not being super effective against Lapras, we still use Flamethrower, and Charizard gets the win for us. Now, this next Elite Four is probably the weakest out of them all. The only reason he's gonna even give us a bit of trouble is because Charizard's 4x weak to Rock type moves. We start off with our Lapras and use Surf against his Onix, one-shotting his first Pokemon. And I know it might be sounding counterintuitive to send out Charizard even though all his Pokemon know Rock to, but Charizard's Flamethrower hits hard, and it's our best bet to knock out his Pokemon. We take out Hitmonchan this way, and critical hit his Ace Machamp. We also knock out his Hitmonlee this way as well. We bring back Lapras for his final Onix, and one-shot it with Surf, beating the second Elite Four. Now it's time for us to troll Agatha. We taught a normal type a ghost type move. That's gonna be Agatha's Achilles heel. She's not gonna really be able to deal damage against our Snorlax, and that's how she'll be spamming Double Team and Confuse Ray. We knock out her Gengar, despite the fact she confused us, and set up 3 double teams. I totally forgot about her Golbat, and so I didn't heal Pikachu, but Pikachu's the GOAT and he hangs on there and even paralyzes the Golbat for us to go back to back with Thunderbolt and knock out her Golbat. Why does a ghost type Elite Four even have a Golbat? I'd hope Charizard one-shot Arbok, but her Arbok hung in there. For some reason she didn't heal, and so we took it out with Dragon Rage. We also took out our Ace Gengar this way as well, and brought back Snorlax to take out our Hauntor. Despite the fact we fell asleep, we still have Sleep Talk, and lucky for us, we used Shadow Ball, taking out the 3rd Elite Four member and getting 1 step closer to the Kanto Championship. This was it, us versus Lance, the final Elite Four member before we get to see who the champion is. Now, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Lance becomes the champion of Johto and Kanto. And that's canon because even in the Champion League, they introduced him as such. So we're going to be using Thunder against his Gyarados, hoping and even getting a one-shot. I'm feeling pretty good because we took out his Gyarados with ease, but after struggling with its Dragonair, I send out my Lapras to use Ice Beam and knock out his Dragonair. And with 1 Ice Beam, I knock out his second Pokemon. I send out Primeape for Aerodactyl, and Primeape tanks a Wing Attack and gets a super effective Cross Chop on it. Now it's time for his ace, his Dragonite. We use 1 Ice Beam, and I think I'm about to knock it out with 1 shot, but it stops taking damage. Lucky for us, he doesn't go for a full restore, and our second Ice Beam knocks it out. Unfortunately for us, Lapras' health's too weak for it to take on his Dragonair, and we end up losing our best attacker for this match. We almost knock it out with Charizard, but he goes for his final full restore, and he ends up knocking Charizard too. I'm beginning to stress, but I realize I have 4 more Pokemon left, and Snorlax not anything to play with. It survives again, and he goes for another full restore. After a bit of back and forth, we finally knock it out, beating the final Elite Four member. Now all that's left is battling the Kanto League champion, who unsurprisingly is our rival Gary. It all comes down to this. Ever since Pallet Town and our childhood, we've been rivals, doing numerous battles around the region. It's time to find out who's the best trainer in Kanto and who will become the Pokemon Master. After all the struggles, catching new Pokemon and training and evolving them, and battling Team Rocket and taking on the Elite Four, it all comes down to this, the final moments of our journey. It's do or die for us. We have to lock in, because if we don't win here, then all our struggles will be for nothing. So finally, it's time to test our team to see if the 6 Pokemon we raised are better than the 6 Pokemon he did. He starts off with his Pidgeot, and we start off with our Pikachu. We use a Thunder, which it surprisingly survives. We tank a Aerial Ace and you go for Thunderbolt to knock out his Pidgeot. After taking care of his Pidgeot, our Lapras one-shots his Rhyhorn, and our Charizard one-shots his Exeggutor. And just like that, half his team is gone. He's sending out his Ace now, and his starter Blastoise, so we send out our Ace Pikachu. Pikachu hits Blastoise with a Thunder, but falls down to a Hydro Pump. We set up Swagger on Blastoise, hoping it just knocks itself out, and we go for a Cross Chop. Unfortunately for us, his Blastoise barely hangs on and snaps out of the confusion the very next turn. Gary then goes for a full restore, and we go for a Cross Chop. We set up Swagger again, hoping that it's confused and hits itself, and deliver the finishing blow with a Cross Chop. With his Blastoise fallen, things are looking even more bleak for Gary. Our Snorlax keeps hitting Shadow Balls, and Gary keeps wasting his full restores. He heals up like 4 times on Alakazam, just for it to be knocked out by our Snorlax. His final Pokemon is Arcanine, and we send out our Lapras, hoping that Lapras can put an end to our journey, and an end to Gary's career. We go for our first serve, and Arcanine's still in green health. We hang on after a Flamethrower and go for another serve. Arcanine takes priority with extreme speed and knocks out Lapras. Dragonair is our only other Pokemon that knows Surf. We tank another Flamethrower, and Dragonair does the honors of hitting Gary with the finishing blow. And with that, we beat Gary, the Kanto League, and become the Pokemon League champion. Professor Oak naturally comes to congratulate us, and this fight was much more easier than the Lance one. I feel like if there was ever a fight we were going to lose, it was going to be the Lance one. Luckily, however, he didn't heal his Dragonite, and now we can enter the Hall of Fame with Ash's Pokemon. And now you know the only reason Ash probably lost the Kanto League in the anime is because his darn Charizard would never listen to him. Luckily for us, our Charizard's loyal, and so we were able to win. This video was really fun to make. It took me about a week to finish the game, and I pretty much played at work when I wasn't busy. I'd say we had a really rough start, losing to Brock and Misty 3 times, but things started picking up for us, and we were able to sweep through Erica, Lieutenant Surge, Koga, and Sabrina, as well as Giovanni. And the only other gym leader we lost to was Blaine. We swept through every rival fight, not losing once to Gary. And I'd say we did pretty good at the championship fight. Most of the Elite Fours were easy, but Lorelei was definitely the hardest one, especially the Slowbro. That Slowbro has some crazy defense. Obviously, all the Giovanni fights were easy as well. I feel like he's one of the easiest main bosses of the earlier games. And overall, I feel like Kanto is one of the best regions they made layout-wise. Not only that, but there's just a ton of experience you can gain from battling trainers. One problem I have with this game, however, is the fact that the experience share is locked behind 50 Pokemon in your Pokedex. It's because of that, our Dragonair and Lapras are so underleveled, and our Charizard was just so overleveled as well. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.
Maybe it's a good idea if you stay here for a while and make sure the other Pokemon are safe, okay, Pidgeot?